Oh, well, all right. So during the war, I've always thought this was kind of funny. How am I doing for time? When we declared war on Germany, if you look at Wilson's declaration of war, it kind of says, I have no problem with the German people. It's their leaders, and we're fighting to make the world safe for democracy. It's a great speech. But then as we got into the war, we kind of realized, it's hard to shoot people you don't hate. Okay? We need to be unified to fight against Germany and the Austro-Hungarian Empire. And one thing you've got to understand is in the years leading up to World War I, we had a huge, huge wave of immigration. Many of you in here, many of your families probably came to this country in the late early 1900s. All right? And there were literally dozens and dozens of ethnicities. From what used to be Germany and the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Right? And then, of course, some of your families came from countries that were on the Allied side. And so Wilson is very worried. We need to be unified as Americans. Okay? And so this was a very, very big concern. So the government set up this group called the Committee of Public Information, CPI. And their job was to unify us against Germany. Very few of us fought against the Austro-Hungarian Empire and all those dozens of ethnicities. So a lot of this is concentrated on Germany. And there were a lot of German Americans, fairly recent immigrants. Spoke with German accents, spoke German in the home, sent their kids to Lutheran or Catholic parochial schools, where quite often they learn their subjects in German. And so there's this big concern, certainly exaggerated, that these German Americans are going to be spies. They're going to undermine the United States. And by the way, there were German spies in the United States undermining the war effort. They blew up a senator's office, tried to spread anthrax to livestock we were selling to the Allies, all kinds of that stuff. But, certainly not all of these immigrants, right? We'll do the same thing, by the way, to the Japanese Americans in World War II. We're kind of doing with Arab Americans today. So all of a sudden, everything German is suspect. Right? Well, we've had Germans here, certainly since the 1700s. A lot of Germans. By the way, I don't know if do any of you have German last names or German? German Americans are the largest ethnic group in the United States. But during the war, man, good luck if you're a German American. So here's the issue. Everything German is suspect. And so, what would that dog breed be called today?
German Shepherd.
That? That's a dachshund. You know what, Elizabeth? That sounds pretty German to me. So we got to call them Liberty Hounds. That's a Liberty Hound. That's not a dachshund. In 1918 America. And again, here's this concern. Watch what you say. He's watching you. Beat back the Hun with Liberty bonds. And I don't know if you know who the Huns are in history. We call the Germans the Hun. It's not what you call your boyfriend or your girlfriend. Hey, Hun. All right? The Huns destroyed. They beat the Roman Empire. But not only did they beat the Romans, they destroyed the Roman Empire and created the Dark Ages. If these guys win, they're going to destroy civilization itself. You could say that about the Nazis. I'm no fan of the Germans of World War I, but again, look how kind of scary they are. And I guess to a certain degree in war, you got to kind of make the enemy scared. To hell with the Kaiser, even little kids, right? And more German atrocities. Oh man, I have to admit, I like sausage and crackers. I know All right? Oh man, these Germans are bad news. And then again, here's, the Germans as kind of a spider. Beware of female spies, guys. All right? They're spying on you. And then, again, I think this is really interesting. With CPI, this is kind of a big deal. The idea was, we want to inform our citizens about education and democracy and promoting unity and helping assimilate our Americanized immigrants and, having a national common ideology. CPI employed 150,000 people. So it's a big operation. They distributed, and in fact I showed you a couple of these with the Spider Kaiser guy and some of that stuff, 75 million pamphlets. I might show you some films here in a moment. All kinds of movies. People went to movies like crazy back then. They're still silent. That's some guy banging on a piano in the corner. But in this room, you can make money. Just set up a screen, put up a sheet. People would watch anything. People went to movies a lot, even if they had to read what was going on. And we had a lot of propaganda films. You go to the movie, and before you saw the movie, you'd see a propaganda film. Great titles, right? The Hun Within. Again, we're very worried about, spying. Pershing's Crusaders. The Claws of the Hun. To Hell with the Kaiser. And the Kaiser, the Beast of Berlin. The famous I Want You poster is a CPI creation. Again, I show you spies and lies, Germans everywhere. We had 75,000 4-minute men, 4-minute women. And it's kind of cool. Their job was to give a quick 4-minute speech. I bet you wish mine was 4 minutes. And they'd come out at any kind of a public setting, give a quick 4-minute speech, get you all riled up for the war, work harder, sign up, whatever. And then you could watch your movie or attend church or, whatever, PTA meeting or whatever it is. And it worked pretty well. One woman was so good, before a movie, the guys got so riled up they followed her right out of the theater and they signed up for the Army. No, the Navy. They had to call their parents. Hey, Ma, I won't be home for the, from the movie tonight. They're putting me on a bus. I'm going to basic training in the Navy. This is a huge effort. And there were these ultra-patriotic vigilante groups to enforce compliance, report suspicious behavior, lack of enthusiasm for the war, people aren't buying enough war bonds, whatever. A bond or your job, by the way, you'd better, if you're not giving part of, buying bonds with part of your paycheck, you're in serious trouble. There was an American Protective League. The Justice Department gave 250,000 Americans badges to spy on their co-workers and neighbors. Listen in on your phones, on the party lines, open people's mail, that kind of stuff. And everything German becomes suspect. All right? And some of this is kind of shocking. 16 states, this isn't the federal government, these are the states, independently banned the teaching of the German language. I don't know if any of you like the opera. It was tragic. No more German operas during World War I. If you like opera, you have to go to an Italian one. By the way, you'd probably be happy to know the beer consumption dropped. Why would beer consumption drop? Well, you guys don't even know about beer. You're all too young. You might have heard of beer. If you watch sports, you see commercials for this mystical beverage. All right? And everybody's having a good time, and, you pop open a can, and women in bikinis pop up everywhere or something, right? But why would beer consumption drop? It's German. Busch, Coors, Anheuser, Budweiser. That's all German stuff. That's unpatriotic to drink beer. Right? Not that any of you have ever even tried it. And I'll show you a couple of towns change their names. Germantown, Nebraska will become Garland, Nebraska. Berlin, Iowa becomes Lincoln, Iowa. And again, Hamburg, Germany, hamburger. And so you can buy a hamburger in 1918 America. You order a Liberty sandwich. Right? And we wouldn't do stuff like that today. And this is where what are these? You go to a baseball game and you can't order a Frankfurter anymore. That's where we got the name hot dogs. This was World War I. Frankfurter, that sounds German. And there's again a Liberty Hound. It's not a Dachshund. And then this, I would call it, well, it'd be a Liberty Shepherd, right? Instead of a German Shepherd. But they called them Alsatians because Alsace-Lorraine is a French-German border region that France got back. So that's actually a French dog now. Not a German dog. But Alsatian didn't stick. But it did in England. You don't find German Shepherds in England. They still call them Alsatians. I used to have one of those, by the way. And there's some little town in Nebraska looking like any little town in Nebraska, except now it's called Garland instead of Germantown. And I don't think I found any pictures of Lincoln, Iowa. But it used to be Berlin, Iowa. And then again, here's that beer thing I talked about. And you should all be happy that, beer is anti-American. And in fact, shortly after the war, we passed the 18th Amendment, which outlaws the drinking of beer. And again, here are these depictions of the Hun, right? Now, I think some of this is kind of funny, but some of it is kind of tragic as well. A naturalized German American, okay, a German immigrant, tried to enlist in the Navy in East St. Louis, and because the guy had an accent, he was apprehended by a mob and lynched. All right. A lot of German people, German names were persecuted just because of their name. Some people even changed their names. There was the Wobblies, or the IWW union, was kind of radical, and they weren't exactly supportive of the war, and so a union organizer in Butte, Montana was dragged through the streets and lynched. It's pretty bad. But where I used to teach high school in this little German-American community in Minnesota, New Ulm, Minnesota. And I don't know, it was kind of funny. So I'm a high school teacher, okay? And in New Ulm, Minnesota, it's a very German town named after Ulm, Minnesota. One of the most homogeneous places in the United States. Not just like 95% white, 95% German, and then I was probably like 3% of the people that weren't German, all right? And a little bit like Frankenmuth, by the way, actually a touristy place. So anyway, in town, not far from where I live, there's a hill, and on the top of the hill was a plateau, right, with a statue. And the statue looks like a big Viking, all right? He's got the horned helmet, and he's holding a sword and a shield. And you can actually go up there. There's a little staircase. You can go up there, and you can look out over the valley and all the cornfields. There's not much else out there, right? And if you read the little placard next to the statue, it's kind of nice. Everybody locally called this guy Herman the German because his name was Herman. And if you read the plaque, it basically says that this guy fought for German freedom and liberty and independence from the Roman Empire. All right? And which was kind of a nice, I thought it was kind of a nice, we're Germans, we're proud of our German heritage, and here's this guy in ancient history that fought for American ideals. You see what I'm saying? So, I'm a high school social studies teacher. I was teaching civics, American government. You all love that class, right? And I bet your favorite part was local government. Local and state government, right? Oh, I'll be honest, I wasn't very interested in local and state government either. And so what I did, I thought I was very clever, I invited the mayor to talk about local government. And he was great. That's Freddie B. Bourne. He's a great guy, very interesting guy. Well, one of the things he said is that the city was spending a small fortune to fix up Herman the German. And they're shutting down Herman the German. You couldn't climb up the little staircase anymore. And why couldn't you visit Herman the German? Because back during World War I, people were so riled up against Germans. I don't know, local farmers from Hanscom, Minnesota, the local Norwegian community would drive up there with their shotguns and deer rifles from all over south central Minnesota, would go up there and blast away at this statue with their deer rifles and their shotguns. Dirty Hun bastard, bam, 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 here's what we think of you. And now, like 80 years later, it was all falling apart. The statue. They had to fix it up. You know, so, I mean, some of this is almost comical, but it's a little out of control. Now,
was he drinking beer?
were they drinking beer? And wait a minute, let's see if I have to go back here. So then what we get, by the way, are the Alien and Sedition Acts. Some of this makes sense, but what's really kind of scary here is that the government was so concerned that they actually, with the Sedition Acts in particular, because I'm a little low on time, I have to leave a few minutes early here, they made it illegal to say anything critical of the war, a crime. All right? And a very famous guy named Eugene Debs, 3-time candidate for the presidency, got about 1 million votes a few times. He was a socialist, and so the socialists are always concerned about kind of class divisions, okay? And he said in a speech, master classes declared wars while subject classes fought them. Man, I kind of agree with that. He got 10 years in prison. Even after the war, Wilson wouldn't let him out. Harding let him out eventually. A socialist, a pretty liberal guy with the unfortunate name of Victor Berger in Milwaukee. A socialist ran for the House of Representatives, got elected, and the House of Representatives wouldn't let him take his seat. All right? Right now, by the way, there's a guy named Moore in Alabama. And in the Senate has already talked about this guy. If he gets elected, we may not let him take his seat. Berger wasn't allowed to take his seat. He took it to the Supreme Court, and the court was fine with that. They really elected him again anyway. He finally was not able, they didn't reverse their decision until 1921. So, I guess, part of what I'm saying here is that the government was, all right, these are just women wanting to vote and all that kind of stuff. There's Debs in jail, by the way, in 1920 running for the presidency. And he got 900,000 votes. And so that all of a sudden, there he is. There's Herman the German, right, in scenic, that's 6 months, right there. All right? And anyway, I guess my point here is that the government was actually encouraging Americans to hate each other. First, due to your ethnicity, and then later, of course, as we get deeper into the war, perhaps even due to your political views, right? People like, Debs, people like Berger. Here's Berger being kind of painted as a, right? As a supporter of the Germans. And there's just one of his ads, against profiteers. And so then, at the end of the war, I don't know if you care about this, at the end of the war, there was a communist revolution. We're very concerned about communism spreading. So then, the government stomps all over people's civil rights of a fear of communism. And admittedly, a lot of political radicals were from Eastern Europe. So there's a lot of popular hatred. First the Germans, political radicals. Now really political radicals now that we're kind of getting out of the war. And again, not just Germans, but Eastern Europeans from communist Russia or our old enemy, the Austro-Hungarian Empire. And so, man, we got to keep these, the idea is we got to keep these people out of the country. And again, I don't have time, but you'll kind of get a little bit of an idea if you look at some of the, the images here. And the communists and leftists are always kind of looking like these messy, bearded Russian types. And there were anarchists, by the way. And there were bombings on May Day and that kind of stuff. J. Edgar Hoover, by the way, started his career kind of in this fight against, radicalism. But again, look at the way these people are depicted. Very upset. And then on top of that, by the way, the economy briefly tanked at the end of the war, which really stressed everybody out because we're not producing all of this stuff for the war. Even the cops went on strike. Now, I would say people are on strike because what? They're losing their jobs, their pay's getting cut, they're upset. And but the government, of course, blamed radicalism more than probably the root causes. And then, and by the way, here's New York. There's a lot going on here with all of this stuff. And this is the Attorney General, and he sees Reds everywhere, right? Here's what's really going on in a walk in the park. But here's what he sees. Baby commies, cop commies, children commies, ice cream truck commies. They're everywhere. Commies. We deported people. Just in Detroit alone, they locked up 300 people for over a week without ever charging them. It's really a mess. All right? And then one of the other things, so that this is called the Red Scare. And then on top of that, we have the Red Summer. It's one of the interesting things going on in World War I is that African Americans, as well as whites, served in the war, almost exclusively in segregated units, and civil rights leaders really thought this would help civil rights. We finally have our chance to show that we're equal, and we sacrificed and fought for our country, and now we can, regain, the civil rights that we lost after the Civil War. Well, what happened was there's an increase in lynchings after the war, and what's really kind of interesting to me about the Red Summers, it's very often portrayed as black riots. Quite often it was white riots against blacks, but blacks fought back. And I don't know, something like over 24 cities. I mean, everywhere from Nebraska, throughout the South, Portland, California, everywhere we have all of these riots, race riots. Whites unhappy about blacks in their neighborhoods or blacks having those jobs. Just crazy stuff that started some of these riots. It's kind of interesting, too, that where the National Guard or the police stepped in, things got calmed down fairly quickly. Where there wasn't kind of the government willpower, some of these things just lasted about a week. Again, I don't have time to get into all of this as much as I would like. But post-World War I is very, very, very chaotic. There's, again, everywhere. So, here's St. Louis, by the way. Right? Race war in St. Louis. People being dragged off buses. I mean, this is crazy. Here's the army with machine guns. There's a black and a white veteran, and it's you know, the city is really pretty tense. Here's a lynching. It's pretty rough. And then, of course, we have the women's rights movements, women getting the vote. So now, what I want to show you, in about 5 or 10 minutes, is I don't think we should be surprised with the 1920s. Now, I should say that the 1920s is kind of the first modern era. Okay? The modern media, right? I mean, when, you know, in my class, when we get to the 20s, you know, that's kind of what looks familiar to you, right? You know, modern music, you know, jazz, you know, kind of like pop music. The media is everywhere. People have radios. People can go to movies. We have movies you can listen to as well as watch. Electricity is changing the country. People have cars and telephones. All of that kind of stuff, right? Celebrities, spectator sports, right? College football stars, Babe Ruth. You see what I'm saying? It's the modern era. But guess what? There's this backlash against modernity. And I don't think we should be surprised. I've kind of, you know, through this whole World War I thing, but for about 6 years, the country's been kind of teaching Americans to hate each other and delegitimize each other. And what do we get? We get the Ku Klux Klan. First modern era in American history is the golden era for the Ku Klux Klan. All right? And so again, I wish I had more time, but this is an ad for the Klan. Oh, this is an ad against the Klan. Protect yourself from the Klan. Right? They're anti-Jew. Again, a lot of our immigrants from Eastern Europe are Jewish. And we all know the Klan does not like Jews. The Klan is anti-Negro. They're anti-Catholic. They're anti-foreigner. And they're anti-labor. All right? So sign up and join a union and fight the Klan is kind of the message there. And here is Klan membership. And the darker the state, the higher the percentage of members of the Klan. And one of the things I think is really kind of interesting about this, by the way, is probably the capital of the Ku Klux Klan is Indiana, of all places. Oregon, a lot of Klan activity. All right? And so it's kind of interesting. If I were able, all right, it would be kind of interesting, wouldn't it? If I were able to go back in time and grab a member of the Klan from, say, 1926 to come talk to us today, right? Wouldn't that be interesting? If he could field our questions, he would say, I stand for Americanism. That's what he'd say. I represent traditional American values. That's what he would say. There's a lot of anxiety. He would see himself as kind of maybe going back, you know, this nostalgia. But there's this idea, I don't know if you used to use this term a lot when I was a kid, WASP. Does anybody know what a WASP is? It's an acronym.
White Anglo-Saxon.
And Protestant. WASP. There's this idea that those are the only legitimate real Americans. Everybody else, not so much. They obviously don't like African Americans. The race riots of 1919 unnerved them. They don't like the NAACP. They're furious with the Harlem Renaissance. The idea that jazz music, black music, is permeating our culture. They think blacks have low IQs. They're prone to violence. They all want to rape white women. They hate Jews. They think the Jews all want to dominate the world via their banks and finance and business. The Italians, I don't know if any of you are Italian, they're all anarchists and communists. They're all mobsters like Al Capone. And again, there were Italian mobsters like Al Capone, right? They refer to them as Dagos and refer to the 1919 anarchist bombings. They don't like Eastern Europeans. They're immigrants. They're anti-Catholic. Again, they call them papists and loyal to the Pope. Refer to Catholics as baby worshippers, and lots of propaganda about sexual perversion by monks and priests and nuns. They hate immigrants. At this time, 1 out of every 7 Americans is an immigrant. So right off the bat, they've written off 1/7 of the population. By the way, anti-immigrant laws will be passed in 1924, by the way, that severely limit immigration from Eastern and Southern Europe. They think these immigrants, we have too low standards for these people to get into the country. The new immigrants are stupid. They can't assimilate. They're anarchists. They're communists. They want to destroy our freedom. They're socialists. They don't believe in capitalism. All kinds of stuff. Mohammedans, that's what they call Muslims, are evil. They didn't like Latinos or Hispanics either. Obviously, they don't like American Indians. They refer to people, various shades as, quote, mongrelization with mud people, anti-Asian, angry at anti-American politicians. It's a code name for the Irish political machines. People like the Kennedys. They're anti-union. They feel they're anti-capitalist. Again, anti-immigrant. And obviously, I'll show you some of this real quick here. They did use violence and burning crosses and beating people up and lynching people. But there's a lot of other stuff going on to encourage conformity. People were denied credit at their local bank or store. They weren't allowed to shop in certain places. A lot of social alienization, not welcome in schools or churches or all kinds of places like that. And, but there's this need back then, the Klan really fed on this sense of people felt a little insecure, displaced. And they really fed on that, right? It's kind of like being in a fraternity or sorority or something. You got this secret organization with your loyalties and all of that. Here in Michigan, about half of the Klan was in the cities and about half was in the country. So here, let me just show you a little bit, and you'd be surprised what the Klan did and how open they were. There's a Klan race car, for Pete's sake. This is all in the open. Okay? I'm not saying Coolidge or Harding were members of the Klan, but I've never read anything with them coming out against the Klan either. This is all very much in the open. The Klan built war memorials. Look at this. These areas, 1/4 of the people were members of the Klan. The Klan had a lot of parades, which I will show you. And this is not secret stuff. They're openly in parades. They planted trees in parks. The Klan had bake sales. They sponsored baseball teams when baseball was king. Honor guards at public events, like, Boy Scouts or sporting events. They contributed money to churches. They campaigned for and supported political candidates. There was a women's branch of the Klan, a children's branch of the Klan, kind of like Cub Scouts or something. Some states had state Klan days. Again, during Prohibition, these guys would be vigilantes and enforce laws. There was a KKK plane that would charge you money to ride on their plane. They gave food and gifts. There was, Christmas is coming up, isn't it? They had Santa Claus, believe it or not. I thought this was kind of scary. They were so popular, even today, we may not realize it, some high school mascots have Klan names. Cyclops, Crusaders, Dragons. My high school, we were the Knights. Knights of the Ku Klux. I don't know, but my high school, the mascot might go all the way back to the Klan. And again, they would boycott businesses by Catholics, especially Jews, visit people's homes, intimidate them, burn crosses, beat up accused people, a souvenir business. It's pretty crazy. All right, well, dear, I've got to go. So let me just show you some images here. Here's Maine, and there's 1926, right there in the heart of the 20s. That's when membership really goes up, up, up. Here's a state parade in Wichita. Let's go. All right, Charles Evans, Hiram Wesley Evans, the Imperial Wizard of the Klan, is going to speak. And here's a little card in Connecticut, of all places, to sign up for the Klan. And then a lot of people there. Colorado! Wow, it's very festive. And there's the Klan there at a Democratic convention, kind of crowding out people and having an effect on politics. And man, they'd leave their card. Yikes! I'd be worried if one of these was on my, my mailbox. The Ku Klux is watching you, scum. Here's a big, look at all the flags, right? Draping themselves in Americanism. And look at the good citizen ringing the Liberty Bell, the Bible, George Washington, the flag, the cross, and the Klan. All synonymous. That just boggles my mind. Look at some of this stuff. And there they are on some kind of Klan ceremony. Jesus saves! And look at all those guys in the Klan, right? That's scary. The defender of Christianity, right? I want you, Uncle Sam, the Bible in the public schools. And again, there they are, anti-Catholic, pro-American, all that good stuff. And here's one of those mini parades. That's in Washington, D.C. It's all very out in the open. This is not 1870s Klan. This is not 1950s Klan. Again, there they are at the nation's capital, parading down the street. That might be later. I'm not sure, but I threw that in there anyway. This might be during the Civil Rights Movement. I'm not sure. But this is Klan country. Yikes. And then again, melting pot's a garbage can. Anti-immigrant. We're all loyal Klans. Madison, Wisconsin, which I kind of think of as a kind of a liberal college town. College kids joining the Klan, perhaps? I don't know. Here's a musical. Daddy swiped our last clean sheet and joined the Ku Klux Klan. Kind of strange. A free lecture sponsored by the Klan. Just out clucking around, wandering around at night. There's again some music. Again, here's you're right, pure womanhood, Americans who love law and order in our Constitution, although what they do seems to violate all of that. And then here you can order Klan stuff. Here's an order. You could order your robes if you don't want to make them yourself out of old sheets. There's a Klan pocket knife, a Kluxer. Everything has a K in the Klan. All right? Here's a membership card for the Klan, 1926. Here's some Klan souvenirs, pins. Here's some women. Welcome, KKK. All right, and here's, again, women of the Ku Klux Klan. There's a family photo, for Pete's sake. There's your family portrait. In the Klan. Here's Muncie, Indiana. Here's women of the Ku Klux Klan. And then here's part of the creed of Klanswomen. Akron, Ohio. There they are with a float. There's another Klan card. And there's Tulsa, Oklahoma, by the way. Klan inspired. And there's some lynching. Right? The Wobblies getting attacked. There's another lynching. Nashville has a daylight lynching. Again, here's the, and by the way, you know, this is, I don't know if you know this, but Henry Ford was very racist and prejudiced. And there's one of his newspapers, the Dearborn Independent, the international Jew, the world's problem. And Hitler kept the Dearborn Independent on his coffee table. And Hitler thought Henry Ford had all kinds of great ideas. Now, that Jewish music, moron music becomes our national music. Apparently Ford didn't like jazz. He made his workers square dance, by the way. There is a book, I bought it, I heard the speaker last year, I got it autographed, I haven't read it yet. Terror in the City of Champions. There's a group called the Black Legion, which kind of broke off from the kind, very, very violent, murdered a bunch of people. And I did watch the movie, by the way, the Black Legion, early Humphrey Bogart movie about all of this stuff. So I guess my point as I leave is, you know, when this stuff is legitimized, it has an effect on the populace. The idea that some of these ideas of, you know, hatred and oppression, it's all okay. All right, so, but I've got to run, I've got a class. So, a little more hurry. I probably spent too much time on the early stuff. I don't know if this was helpful or not.
Oh, it was awesome. Thank you.
But anyway, thank you, and we'll see you later.